Admiral Goran Vex stood on the command deck of the Imperial warship Desolation, his forearms clasped behind his back in the pose his species considered the height of confidence. The ambient lighting reflected off his blue-tinted skin, casting a cold gleam across his angular features as his 4 eyes fixed on the main view screen. Beyond it drifted a small, blue-green planet that hardly seemed worthy of the Empire's attention. "So this is Earth," Vex muttered, mandibles clicking in mild disdain. "This unimpressive little world. This is the planet that has caused all the fuss." Senior Intelligence Officer Kithri approached, a data tablet clutched in her lower appendages. "Yes, Admiral. While it appears unremarkable, our surveillance indicates the inhabitants have achieved extraordinary technological progress in an astonishingly short evolutionary time frame." From the opposite side of the command deck, Officer Thrick gave a snort that sounded like steam escaping a ruptured pipe. "Define extraordinary. Have they mastered faster-than-light travel? Harnessed zero-point energy? Do they wield planet-cracker weapons?" "No, Admiral," Kithri admitted. "They possess only nuclear arms, rudimentary spaceflight, and a planetary information network." Vex's mandibles twitched in amusement. "Then they're nothing but glorified primates who've learned to split atoms and send messages through the void. Hardly a threat to an empire spanning 17 star systems and 12 millennia of history." At the far end of the deck, the youngest officer present, Lieutenant Drazar, cleared his throat nervously. "With respect, Admiral, High Command has warned us not to underestimate them. The Galactic Council classifies humanity as unpredictable and potentially dangerous if provoked." Vex swiveled all 4 eyes toward the junior officer. "The Council is overly cautious. They see potential usurpers in every new species. But look at this world. One dominant species fractured into competing factions, still burning fossil fuels, barely scratching at their own atmosphere. These are not rivals. They're children," he gestured dismissively at the glowing planet. "Nevertheless, the Emperor has decreed that Earth lies on a critical hyperlane junction. Annexing it is essential to our expansion into Sector 7. If they submit, they will serve as useful citizens. If they resist—" He let the threat hang in the recycled air of the command deck. Officer Thrick's claws danced across her tablet. "Our analysis of their global communications confirms their military forces are fragmented across national borders. They have no unified planetary defense and no weapons capable of piercing our shields." "Excellent," Vex purred. "Prepare the standard Imperial First Contact package and ready the subjugation fleet in case these humans prove stubborn." Lieutenant Ozer shifted uneasily. "Admiral, if I may, perhaps we should review the historical data on their conflicts first?" Vex's tone dropped to liquid nitrogen. "Are you questioning my tactical assessment, Lieutenant?" "No, Admiral," Ozer said quickly, straightening at once. "But intelligence reports indicate humans respond to threats in unpredictable ways. I am not concerned with the psychological quirks of a pre-FTL species," Vex replied coolly. "This is a standard annexation. I've conducted 17 such operations without failure." Ozer lowered his gaze. "Of course, Admiral." At the communications console, Officer Pell began calibrating her equipment. Her delicate, fan-like auditory organs stretched around her head as she spoke. "Admiral, our translation matrix is ready. We can communicate with 99.8% accuracy in all major Earth languages." "Excellent," Vex said, smoothing the ceremonial folds of his uniform. "Record now." The bridge fell silent as Pell activated the system. Vex drew himself up to his full 7-foot height and spoke with the practiced arrogance of Imperial authority. "People of Earth," he intoned, his voice echoing across the void. "I am Admiral Goran Vex of the Zarnian Empire. Your planet has been selected for incorporation into our glorious civilization, which has endured for 12,000 years and spans the stars. Your technology, resources, and labor will serve the greater glory of Emperor Khazur the Magnificent, 17th of his name, conqueror of 1,000 worlds. Resistance is both futile and unnecessary. Accept imperial rule, and you will prosper under our benevolent guidance. Reject our offer and face the consequences. You have 24 of your Earth hours to respond. Your planetary leaders may contact us on this frequency with your decision. Choose wisely." He cut the transmission with a flick of his claw. That should be simple enough for primitives to understand. Chief Strategist Mara Locks, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. Admiral, what if they don't capitulate? The subjugation fleet consists of only 5 warships. 5 warships is excessive for a species whose greatest achievement is sending a wheeled robot to its nearest planetary neighbor, Vex interrupted with a scoff. Our sensors show their most powerful weapons are nuclear missiles with paltry yields measured in mere megatons. Our shields can withstand direct hits from weapons 100 times stronger. Locks met his gaze steadily. Military strength isn't always measured in technology alone, Admiral. Psychology and determination also matter. Your concerns are noted, Vex said curtly. But I know what I'm doing. Nearly a full Earth day later, tension gripped the Desolation's command deck. Vex sat in his command chair, one set of fingers drumming against the armrest. Any response from the humans? He demanded. Communications Officer Pell adjusted her instruments. Yes, Admiral. We're receiving a unified transmission from something called the United Nations Security Council. It appears to be their closest equivalent to a planetary government. Put it on screen, Vex ordered, leaning forward. Let's see how graciously they surrender. The view screen flickered, revealing the stern face of a middle-aged human woman with short gray hair. This is Secretary General Maria Torres of the United Nations responding to the communication from the Zarnian Empire, she said carefully. We have considered your message and have prepared a response. Vex smiled, revealing rows of pointed teeth. Proceed, Secretary General. I trust you've made the wise decision. Torres's face remained unreadable. Our response is as follows. The screen split, showing government chambers, military installations, and public spaces across the globe. And then, from every feed, came a sound the Zarnians had never expected. Laughter. Humans were laughing. Some chuckled quietly. Others doubled over in hysterics. Military officers wiped tears from their eyes. Government officials struggled to keep composure and failed. In public squares, citizens howled with mirth pointing at the screens. Admiral Vex stared in shock. What is the meaning of this? Secretary General Torres's lips twitched as she spoke, her voice steady. Admiral Vex, humanity has collectively considered your threat, and the bridge of the Zarnian flagship pulsed with restrained fury. The Hax's mandibles clicked in agitation as the transmission from Earth played. You dare to mock the Zarnian Empire! Hissed Admiral Vex, his voice carrying the weight of countless conquests. You laugh in the face of your own destruction. This is madness. Across the channel, the human representative, Torres, remained composed. Her voice was calm, almost conversational. No, Admiral. This isn't madness. This is humanity. We've imagined scenarios like this for centuries. Alien invasions are practically a cliché in our stories. Your appearance? Honestly, a bit underwhelming compared to our imagination. A stunned silence settled over the Desolation's bridge. Torres pressed on, her tone sharp as a blade. And your threats? They sound like they were copied from a bad movie script. Resistance is futile? We've heard more original lines from children's cartoons. Officer Thrick hesitated, then addressed the Admiral. Our database confirms cartoon villains are fictional antagonists in simplified entertainment for human offspring. This appears to be an insult. I am well aware it's an insult, Vex snarled, his composure cracking. Torres clasped her hands in front of her. We're going to decline your generous offer of incorporation. Earth will remain independent. But we are open to diplomatic relations, if you decide to approach us with respect in the future. Vex's eyes narrowed. His body vibrated with fury. You primitive creatures have no concept of the power you are rejecting. We will reduce your cities to ash. Torres tilted her head slightly, unimpressed. Before you make threats you'll regret, Admiral, you might want to check your sensors. While we've been talking, we've surrounded your vessels. Strategist Locks worked her console furiously. Admiral, she's right. Multiple small craft have appeared on our scans. Their approach was completely masked until now. Impossible! Vex spat, Torres's voice hardened. You might also want to take another look at our moon, the one you dismissed as uninhabited. Lieutenant Ozar's hands shook as he read his instruments. Admiral, massive energy signatures detected from the moon. Weapons installations, Powerful ones. And one more thing, Torres continued, her expression turning steely. Those competing factions you mentioned? When threatened from the outside, humans have a peculiar habit of setting aside our differences. Your arrival has accomplished what decades of diplomacy couldn't: a unified Earth defense force. Vex rose from his command chair, posture rigid with shock. This cannot be. Your species barely has interplanetary travel. Your intelligence is outdated, Torres interrupted. We've maintained strategic deceptions. What you see on our public networks doesn't reflect our true capabilities. Lox's voice trembled. Admiral, their targeting systems are locking onto our ships. They're weapons! There's nothing like them in our database. For the first time in his career, Admiral Goran Vex felt the cold edge of uncertainty. How is this possible? You're a primitive species. Torres allowed herself a small, almost amused smile. Let's just say humans are quick learners. And we've had visitors before yours, some friendlier than others. We learned from each encounter. Vex reeled as the implication sank in. You've had prior contact with extraterrestrials? There's no record in the galactic database. Perhaps because those visitors didn't survive to report back, Torres suggested evenly. Or perhaps they respected our wish for privacy. Either way, Admiral, Earth is not the easy conquest you imagined. On the command deck, Officer Thrick's hands flew across her console. Admiral, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from Earth's oceans as well. Submerged installations. We completely missed them in our scans. This was unprecedented. No pre-FTL civilization had ever responded to first contact with such defiance or such hidden power. Vex's voice was tight, his rage barely contained. What are your demands? Torres raised an eyebrow. Demands? We're not making demands, Admiral. We're declining your offer and suggesting you leave our solar system immediately. Lieutenant Ozar leaned closer to the Admiral. Sir, I recommend a strategic withdrawal. We need to reassess. Vex's pride warred with his instinct for survival. The Empire does not retreat at the first sign of resistance. Strategist Locke's voice cut through the tension. With respect, Admiral, this is more than resistance. Our 5 ships are surrounded by unknown technology wielded by a species that has deceived us about their capabilities. This isn't a battle. It's a potential slaughter. Vex ground his teeth, the sound like stones crushing. Fine. Officer Pell, inform the Human Secretary General that we will withdraw to reassess diplomatic options. But make it clear this isn't over. Before Pell could transmit, Torres spoke again. Oh, and Admiral, our monitoring of your internal communications suggests your translation matrix is advanced, but our decryption technology is more than adequate. We know you're planning to retreat only to return with reinforcements. The bridge crew froze. That won't be necessary, Torres continued. We're sending you a data package to clarify our position. Please review it carefully before your Empire makes further decisions regarding Earth. Pell's console chimed. Admiral, we've received a massive data transfer from Earth. It contains detailed scans of our ships, shield frequencies, weapon specifications, even our homeworld's coordinates. The color drained from Vex's face. That's impossible. That information is classified at the highest level. Torres's expression was firm but not unkind. As I said, humans are quick learners. The data package also includes historical records of how we've handled previous threats, both from our own species and from elsewhere. Consider it educational material. Strategist Lox's eyes widened as she read the incoming files. Admiral, this is unprecedented. They have detailed intelligence on not just our ships, but the entire Imperial fleet, defensive systems, weaknesses. Her voice trailed off as the scale of Earth's preparation became clear. On the Zarnian flagship, silence fell, a silence heavier and colder than the void between the stars. Admiral Vex gripped the edge of the command platform, fighting the disorienting sense that the deck beneath him was tilting. How could a species barely capable of interplanetary travel hold such intimate knowledge of the Zarnian Empire? Entire command structures, ship schematics, everything. It defied every intelligence report he had ever trusted. On the human transmission, Torres's voice remained steady. One last thing before you go. We are transmitting coordinates for a neutral meeting ground, should your Emperor wish to discuss peaceful relations in the future. We are open to mutually beneficial cooperation, Admiral. just not subjugation. The transmission cut, leaving the bridge in a silence that felt heavier than a vacuum. "Orders, Admiral?" Lieutenant Ozar asked quietly. Vex swallowed hard. "Set course away from the Earth system. Maximum speed." He paused, the words scraping against his pride. "And prepare a full report for the Emperor. We may need to reconsider our approach to this planet." As the Zarnian fleet began its reluctant withdrawal, Vex cast one last look at the blue-green world filling his view screen. It seemed as unremarkable as before, a minor backwater in a minor system. But now he knew better. Behind that unassuming facade was a species capable of forcing the mighty Zarnian Empire to back down without firing a single shot. Somewhere on that world, humans were still laughing. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Goran Vex wondered if the joke had been on him all along. "Admiral," Officer Thrick murmured beside him, "the data they sent includes something called First Contact Protocols, suggested guidelines for peaceful interaction with Earth. They're giving us instructions on how to introduce ourselves?" Vex asked incredulously. Brooks nodded. "Yes, sir. And based on my initial review, their suggestions are actually quite reasonable." A headache began to throb behind Vex's 4 eyes. "The Emperor is not going to be pleased." "No, sir," Thrick agreed. "But he might be interested in what else is in the package." The humans included technological schematics as a gesture of goodwill, propulsion systems unlike anything in our database. Despite himself, Vex felt a flicker of curiosity. "They're offering us technology after we threatened them?" "It appears so, sir," Brooks replied. "Along with a message, we prefer friends to enemies. Your move." As the desolation accelerated away from Earth, Admiral Vex had the distinct and unsettling feeling that he had just been playing a game whose rules he hadn't understood until it was too late. The humans hadn't merely resisted, they had changed the entire paradigm of first contact. Somehow, that was more terrifying than any weapon they might have deployed. Far away, on Zarnia Prime, the Imperial Palace gleamed like a malevolent jewel against the red-orange sky. Its twisted spires were built to inspire awe and fear, a perfect reflection of the Empire itself. Inside the Grand Audience Chamber, Admiral Goran Vex knelt before Emperor Kazor the Magnificent, feeling considerably less magnificent than when he had departed to conquer Earth. "Let me be certain I understand you correctly." "Admiral," Emperor Kazor said, his voice deceptively soft. Smaller and almost delicate in appearance compared to most Zarnians, the Emperor's legendary cruelty made his gentleness all the more unnerving. "You approached a supposedly primitive planet with 5 of our most advanced warships, delivered our standard annexation demand, and then fled when they laughed at you?" Vex kept his 4 eyes on the obsidian floor. "Your Excellency, the humans displayed technological capabilities far beyond our assessments. They had concealed weapons platforms on their moon, submerged installations in their oceans, and cloaked vessels that surrounded our fleet before we detected them. They also somehow obtained classified specifications of our ships, known only to Imperial High Command." The Emperor tapped one slender finger against the arm of his throne. "And your proof of these extraordinary claims?" "The data package they transmitted, Your Excellency. Our analysts have been studying it since our return." "Ah, yes," Kazor murmured. "The mysterious data package. How convenient that it also contains technological offerings that would benefit our empire. How generous of these primitives to share their superior knowledge after we threatened to burn their cities." Grand Vizier Talinor stepped forward. Her pale gray skin, rare among Zarnians born on the moons, gave her a spectral air. "Your Excellency, if I may, our preliminary analysis confirms the human schematics are functional. Their propulsion designs alone could increase our fleet's efficiency by 30%. The Emperor's gaze shifted. "And you believe these gifts come without a hidden cost, Tolia? No trap waiting to be sprung?" "I believe nothing without evidence, Your Excellency," she replied carefully. But the fact that these humans could have destroyed Admiral Vex's fleet and chose not to suggests they may genuinely prefer diplomacy to conflict. Kazor leaned back in his throne, expression unreadable. Or perhaps they recognized 5 ships as merely the vanguard of a much larger force and wished to avoid provoking our full military response. Vex cleared his throat nervously. If I may, Your Excellency, there is another aspect of the human data package worth consideration. They included historical records of their conflicts, both internal and external. External? The Emperor asked, his interest sharpening. Yes, Your Excellency. The records suggest Earth has been visited multiple times by other spacefaring species. Some encounters were peaceful, others were not. In all cases where hostile intent was demonstrated, the visitors apparently did not survive to report back. Silence blanketed the grand audience chamber like a physical force. Even the Imperial guards lining the perimeter stiffened at the revelation. At last, Emperor Kazor's voice broke the stillness, soft but edged with steel. You believe these records are authentic, not fabrications meant to intimidate us? Admiral Vex shifted uncomfortably, his 4 eyes lowered. The details align with unexplained disappearances in our own archives, Your Excellency. The Krill exploratory fleet that vanished in Sector 7 3 centuries ago. The Drovian expansion that mysteriously halted near the region humans call the Orion Arm. Entire coalitions, withdrawing from territories bordering their solar system without explanation. Interesting, the Emperor murmured. Grand Vizier, our intelligence archives on Earth. Not the recent assessments prepared for Admiral Vex's mission, but the oldest records. Vizier Noir consulted her terminal, her pale hands dancing over the controls. Curiously sparse, Your Excellency. The earliest mention dates back approximately 800 years. It merely notes that the sector containing Earth was designated low priority for expansion by Emperor Zav the Bold. Kazor's brows lifted. My ancestor was not known for avoiding promising territories. What prompted such a designation? The records do not specify, Noir replied. However, there is a sealed file from that period requiring your authorization. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Display it. The Vizier entered a sequence of commands. A holographic projection burst to life above the chamber floor, ancient Zarnian script scrolling across the air. Images accompanied the text, images that drew murmurs from the court. This can't be correct, Vex whispered. According to the record, a Zarnian scout had encountered a human vessel near the Proxima system 812 years ago, centuries before humans were supposed to have even rudimentary spaceflight. Yet the hologram clearly depicted a human craft with faster-than-light capability disabling the scout ship without destroying it, boarding it, extracting data on the Empire, and then releasing the crew with a warning to avoid Earth space. Such mercy is not typically rewarded in galactic politics, Vizier Noir observed. No, Kazor agreed, his expression unreadable. It is usually interpreted as weakness. He turned his gaze back to Admiral Vex. Yet here we are, 8 centuries later, our ships in retreat and our plans in disarray, because we failed to heed a warning from the distant past. Vex bowed his head lower. I accept full responsibility for the mission failure, Your Excellency. I await your judgment. To everyone's shock, Emperor Kazor laughed, a sound rarely heard within the Imperial court. Oh, Admiral Vex, you misunderstand. I'm not angry with you. I'm fascinated. He rose from his throne and descended the obsidian steps, approaching the kneeling admiral. You have brought me something infinitely more valuable than another subjugated world. You have brought me a mystery. Vex looked up, confusion flickering in all 4 eyes. Consider, Admiral, the Emperor continued, gesturing expansively. A species that appears primitive but wields advanced technology. A planet that has apparently repelled multiple extraterrestrial threats without the galactic community ever learning of it. A civilization that responds to imperial ultimatums with laughter instead of fear, and then offers friendship after being threatened with annihilation. I haven't encountered anything this intriguing in decades of rule. Grand Vizier Noir stepped forward, her terminal glowing softly. There is more, Your Excellency. The coordinates the humans provided for a neutral meeting ground lead to a space station orbiting a dead world in a neighboring system. Our long-range scans indicate the station is already prepared for Zarnian visitors. Atmosphere composition, gravity settings, even dietary accommodations. They built a diplomatic facility for us that quickly? Vex asked, incredulous. No, Admiral, Noir replied. Based on construction patterns and material degradation, the station appears to be at least 2 centuries old. Kazor's expression turned thoughtful. They have been expecting us, or someone like us, for a very long time. He ascended back to his throne, decision crystallizing in his eyes. Admiral Vex, you will lead a diplomatic mission to this station. Take our finest xenoanthropologists, linguists, and cultural experts. I want to know everything about these humans. A diplomatic mission, Your Excellency? Vex asked carefully. The humans could have destroyed your fleet, Admiral, but chose communication instead. I am simply returning the favor. The Emperor's smile did not reach his eyes. Besides, there are many ways to conquer. Understanding can be the first step toward domination. As you command, Your Excellency, Vex replied, relief threading through his voice at being spared execution. Oh! And Admiral, Kazor added as Vex rose. Take Officer Thrick and Lieutenant Ozar with you. Their caution regarding the humans proved warranted. I reward wisdom as well as success. Weeks later, Admiral Vex stood within the docking bay of Diplomatic Station Harmony, watching his team prepare for the first face-to-face meeting with human representatives. The station was immaculate, its architecture a seamless blend of alien elegance and welcoming design. Officer Thrick approached, data tablet clutched in her lower appendages. Admiral, the station's systems have fully accommodated our needs. Atmosphere, gravity, temperature, all adjusted to Zarnian parameters. The humans appear to have studied our physiology in detail, which raises the question of how they acquired such information. They've known far more than they should from the start, Vex muttered. Lieutenant Ozar joined them, looking around with barely concealed wonder. Sir, I've completed my security sweep. The station is clean, no detectable weapons, surveillance only in public areas, and all systems transparent to our scans. Too transparent, perhaps, Vex replied. No species reveals everything. With respect, Admiral, Ozar said, perhaps that's the point. They're demonstrating trust as a diplomatic strategy. Trust is for prey species, Lieutenant, Vex snorted. Yet even as he spoke, he knew. The mighty Zarnian Empire had already stepped onto a board whose game the humans had been playing for centuries. A soft chime resonated throughout the docking bay, its tone melodic and deliberate. A voice followed, smooth, calm, and neither distinctly male nor female, speaking flawless Zarnian. Honored representatives of the Zarnian Empire, your human hosts have arrived. Please proceed to the central concourse for formal introductions. Admiral Vex signaled for his delegation to advance. They moved through the station's curved corridors, each passage lined with artwork from dozens of species. To his surprise, Vex even recognized several pieces in traditional Zarnian styles, as if their hosts had anticipated his reaction. The central concourse opened before them like a cathedral of steel and glass. A transparent dome arched high above, revealing the cold brilliance of the stars. At its center stood 3 humans, 2 female, 1 male, based on morphology. The central figure stepped forward. She was tall, with dark skin, silver-streaked hair braided into an intricate pattern, and a poise that matched any ruler Vex had ever met. Welcome to Station Harmony, she said. I am Ambassador Amani Okafor, representing the United Earth Government. With me are Dr. Alexander Petrov, Science Envoy, and General Diana Reyes, Military Liaison. Admiral Vex advanced, his voice formal and resonant. I am Admiral Goran Vex, representative of Emperor Kazur the Magnificent of the Zarnian Empire. These are my chief advisors, Officer Kathri and Lieutenant Dravazar. Ambassador Okafor's smile was practiced but warm. We are pleased you accepted our invitation, Admiral. This meeting represents an opportunity that could shape the future of both our civilizations. Vex's mandibles clicked softly, the Zarnian equivalent of clearing one's throat. Before we proceed, Ambassador, there are matters that must be clarified. Your species presents itself as newly emergent into galactic affairs, yet evidence indicates your possession of advanced technology for centuries. You appear divided and primitive, yet field defenses capable of challenging an Imperial fleet. This discrepancy demands an explanation. Instead of bristling, the ambassador inclined her head as if the question were expected. Your directness is appreciated, Admiral. You are correct. We have not been entirely forthcoming. Please be seated. We will provide the context you seek. The floor of the concourse shifted seamlessly, forming seating suited to both human and Zarnian physiology. As Vex settled, he noticed the human scientist, Petrov, studying the Zarnian delegation with unguarded fascination. Ambassador Okafor began. To understand Earth's position in galactic affairs, you must first understand our history. Approximately 1,500 of our years ago, Earth was visited by a species we call the Precursors. They were fleeing a catastrophic war and sought refuge in our solar system. General Reyes continued without missing a beat. The Precursors were technologically advanced but few in number. They shared their knowledge with humanity in exchange for a home. And they left us with a warning. The galaxy is filled with predatory empires eager to destroy or enslave emerging civilizations. Dr. Petrov took up the thread, his tone precise. Based on that warning and later encounters with less friendly visitors, humanity made a collective decision that still guides our interstellar policy. We would advance technologically while maintaining the appearance of a primitive pre-FTL civilization. Vex's upper eyes narrowed. You expect me to believe your entire species agreed to this deception? Humans appear fractious and individualistic by nature. Ambassador Okafor smiled faintly. We are indeed individualistic, Admiral. Our disagreements are legendary, but on certain existential matters we find consensus. The programs you see, our visible space efforts, our public energy technologies, are real, but represent only a fraction of our true capabilities. The nations you observe competing on Earth are genuine, but above them exists a hidden unified authority handling extraterrestrial affairs and advanced technology. We call it the custodianship. Vex processed the revelation, his tactical mind appreciating the elegance of the strategy, even as his imperial pride bristled. And the laughter that greeted our annexation demand, was that calculated as well? The three humans exchanged glances, then smiled. Ambassador Okafor answered, That was entirely genuine. Your message was broadcast globally under our first contact protocols. The laughter was a spontaneous public reaction, which the custodianship decided to incorporate into our official response. Humans often use humor as a defense mechanism. And, Dr. Petrov added with clear amusement, your annexation speech closely resembled the dialogue of a villain from one of our old space fantasy series. Officer Thrick, silent until now, spoke up. This strategic deception explains much, but not everything. How have you maintained it so long? The galaxy is vast, but information spreads. General Reyes's expression hardened. Over the centuries, many civilizations have encountered Earth. Those with peaceful intentions were welcomed and often became allies. Those with hostile intent, she paused. Those encounters were handled differently. Hostile visitors do not return to share what they learned. Vex recalled the historical records from the human data package. And your allies keep your secret, Ambassador Okafor inclined her head. The alliance benefits all parties. We share technology, resources, and mutual defense without drawing the attention of expansionist powers like the Zarnian Empire. Vex finished the sentence for her. Precisely. Lieutenant Ozar leaned forward. Suspicion edged with curiosity. This neutral station we're on, part of that alliance infrastructure, isn't it? That's why it was already prepared for Zarnian visitors. Dr. Petrov nodded. Station Harmony is one of several diplomatic facilities maintained by the Earth Alliance. We have similar stations prepared for most known spacefaring species. Most known species, Vex repeated. Your intelligence network must be extensive. General Reyes smiled thinly. We prefer the term awareness network, Admiral. And yes, maintaining our deception requires comprehensive knowledge of galactic affairs. Vex sat back, reevaluating everything he thought he knew about humanity. Then tell me, Ambassador Okafor, what do you want from the Zarnian Empire? You could have destroyed our ships when we threatened your world. Instead, you revealed your capabilities and invited us here. Why? Ambassador Okafor met his gaze, unflinching. Ambassador Okafor's expression softened into sincerity. Because despite our caution, Admiral, humanity does not wish to hide forever. We have maintained our deception out of necessity, not preference. What we want is to emerge into galactic society without being immediately marked for conquest. In your empire, we see the potential for something greater, a powerful ally. Dr. Petrov leaned forward, his eyes alight with conviction. Your technological foundation is impressive, your territory vast, your military power is renowned. An alliance between Earth and Zarnia could be mutually transformative. Vex's mandibles clicked in disbelief. An alliance? After we threatened you with annexation? Why would you trust us? Ambassador Okafor smiled, her composure unshaken. Because you are here, Admiral. Because when faced with the unexpected, your empire chose investigation over blind aggression. That speaks to a flexibility of thought rare among galactic powers, and promising. General Reyes spoke with blunt precision. And because we know your empire, you are expansionist, yes, and rigidly hierarchical, but not genocidal. You absorb conquered species rather than annihilating them. Compared to other powers, there are far worse partners to share the stars with. For once, Admiral Vex found himself silent, his disciplined mind unsettled. He had come prepared for conflict, veiled threats, cautious diplomacy, perhaps even violence. He had not expected an unguarded offer of partnership. Finally, he said, I must consult with Emperor Khazur before discussing terms. Of course, Ambassador Okafor replied smoothly. In the meantime, we have prepared complete records for your review. Our true history, our technology, our alliances. We have nothing to hide from those we would call partners. A notification flashed across Officer Thrick's data slate. She scanned the contents, her eyes widening. Admiral, these files contain detailed information on human propulsion systems, defensive networks, even societal organization. Knowledge far beyond our current understanding. Dr. Petrov offered a reassuring nod, a gesture of good faith. Transparency builds trust. Vex studied the three humans carefully, searching for any sign of duplicity. Yet their calm confidence rang true. You realize, he said slowly, that some in the Imperial Court will see your long deception as reason for war. Not alliance. General Reyes's eyes hardened. We understand the risk, Admiral. But we also understand your Emperor. He values pragmatism over pride. The rewards of alliance with Earth will far outweigh the satisfaction of attempting conquest, especially now that you know it would not come easily. Ambassador Okafor's voice carried the weight of promise. Consider what we offer. Technologies your scientists have yet to imagine. Secure trade routes protected by joint defense. Cultural exchange that could enrich both our civilizations. All without a single Zarnian casualty. Despite himself, Vex found his mandibles flexing in a subtle nod. Your proposal has merit, Ambassador. I will present it to the Emperor, with my recommendation. 3 standard months later, Admiral Goran Vex stood once again in the Imperial Palace on Zia Prime, yet under circumstances he had never dared imagine. This time, he did not kneel in disgrace. He stood proudly beside Ambassador Amani Okafor as the first Earth-Zarnian Cooperative Treaty was formally sealed. The Emperor, resplendent in ceremonial armor, pressed his genetic seal to the treaty. Ambassador Okafor followed, pressing her thumb to the biosensor. Thus begins a new era of prosperity for both our peoples, Emperor Khazur proclaimed to the assembled court. The stars themselves shall bear witness to what we accomplish together. That evening, during the celebration, Vex stood with Lieutenant Ozar, newly promoted for his prescience during first contact. Together they watched humans and Zarnians mingling across the Great Hall, voices of 2 once distant worlds now blending in shared laughter. Ozar tilted his head, his tone almost reverent. Did you ever imagine, Admiral, when we first approached that insignificant blue world, that it would bring us here? Vex gave a low, amused click of his mandibles. Never. I expected a routine annexation, another forgotten line in the chronicles of conquest. Instead, we found perhaps the most unusual species in the galaxy. A species that greets Imperial threats not with fear, but with laughter. Ozar chuckled softly. A calculated risk. From a less disciplined commander, it could have provoked immediate attack. From you only because you saw their strength. Vex inclined his head, conceding the point. Their strategy was unconventional, but effective. They understand a truth most strategists ignore. Ozar leaned in. And what truth is that, Admiral? Vex's eyes followed Ambassador Okafor as she charmed a circle of Imperial ministers with a humorous story. That laughter, when faced with threats, is more disarming than any weapon. It creates doubt where certainty once reigned. And in doubt, everything becomes possible. Across the hall, Okafor caught his gaze and raised her glass. Vex returned the gesture with newfound respect. For all his military training, for all the firepower of his fleet, he knew then that humanity had achieved victory without firing a single shot. Sometimes, the Admiral thought, the greatest power in the galaxy lies not in weapons, but in knowing when to laugh.